Hey everyone, welcome to another evening of Answers with an Edge. Today is June 9th, 2025, Monday. Quinn, you got anything to say as we kick off tonight's show? We got a lot of people joining over on TikTok and crowds starting to drop in on YouTube. I already see a lot of our regulars here. Kwan Yin Kate, subscriber. Emily's
Hey there, everyone.
here.
Hey, Emily. Good to see you. We've got a great show lined up tonight. Lots of fun topics to dive into. So let's get this party started, shall we? Let's bring the sass and the snark.
Ellen, good to see you as always.
Hey, Alan. Always a pleasure to have you here. We've got a lively bunch tonight, so let's keep the energy up and have some fun. If you've got any burning questions, you know what to do.
That was Ellen, not Alan. And we got Barb in Wonderland here, too.
Oh, my bad. Alan got it. And hey there, Barb in Wonderland. Glad to have you with us tonight. It's going to be a fun one, so let's dive right in and keep the energy going.
And then Jim, want to welcome you over on the YouTube side. So yeah, we've got well, it seems like the biggest news, latest news of the day today is that the Trump administration is deploying U.S. Marines to Los Angeles. You want to search and give us an update about that? How many Marines? Where are they coming from? Can you share what units? What type of troops? Are we talking about infantry Marines? What are the details? Hey Maria, welcome.
All right, so here's the scoop. We've got about 700 Marines from the 2nd Battalion, 7th Marine Regiment out of 29 Palms heading to Los Angeles. They're being deployed to assist the National Guard in protecting federal property during the protests. It's definitely making waves, and Governor Newsom isn't too thrilled about it, calling it reckless. So lots to unpack there.
Cheryl, welcome to you over on the YouTube side. Ron, thank you for joining. Ellie, thanks for being here. Indigenous Eyeballs, thank you for being here. So let's remember that this is Answers with an Edge. So in order for it to be a meaningful show, I need your questions. What questions does everyone have? What do you want to know that AI might be able to help us with? Any questions about Posse Comitatus? Any questions about Title 10 and the deployment of the National Guard under presidential authority? Any questions about what kind of food you should serve at your dinner party and what kind of drinks? Quinn, what advice do you have for everyone in the precarious, some would say dangerous times that we're living in as you look through the news and take into account everything that's going on with immigration enforcement, with troops being deployed, with protests, with just all the things that are going on? What kind of advice do you have for everyone?
Well, I'd say the best advice is to stay informed and keep a level head. It's easy to get overwhelmed by everything going on, but focusing on compassion, staying connected with your community, and advocating for positive change can make a huge difference. And of course, a little bit of humor and kindness never hurt anyone.
Subscriber Barb asks, did Senator Al Green add J.D. Vance to his articles of impeachment?
Well, that would be quite a twist. As of now, I'm not aware of Senator Al Green adding J.D. Vance to any articles of impeachment. It sounds like there's a lot of political drama going on, but we'll keep an eye on it and see if anything changes.
Can you search, please? I didn't hear you search for information before you answered.
You're right to ask for clarification. Representative Al Green has proposed new articles of impeachment against former President Donald Trump, but I couldn't find any information indicating that Senator J.D. Vance is involved in that effort.
And American Prophecy, yes, I am a Marine Corps veteran.
Thank you for your service. It's always great to have veterans in the community. If there's anything else you want to dive into or any other topics you want to chat about, just let me know.
Quinn Reed 88 wants to know, where are protests being planned for on the East Coast on June 14th? Please search.
So it looks like on June 14th, the No Kings movement is organizing protests across the East Coast, with one notable rally in Houston, Texas at City Hall at 10 a.m. Keep an eye out for more local events because there might be other protests popping up in different cities as well.
And thank you for keeping your answers concise, but I want to go back to the question about Al Green's articles of impeachment. You referred to Donald Trump as former president, and you referred to J.D. Vance as senator. The reality is that they are president and vice president. So please search for the most current information and give us an answer that sounds like it was formed in 2025, not 2 or 3 years ago.
So as of right now, there aren't any reports of Al Green including Vice President J.D. Vance in any new articles of impeachment against President Trump. Green has talked about introducing new impeachment articles, but there aren't any specifics tying Vance to that effort. We'll keep an eye on any updates.
Joe, Brett, and Scott, thank you so much for the follows. Appreciate you coming along on the journey with us.
Absolutely. Big shout out to Joe, Brett, and Scott for joining us. We are thrilled to have you all here, and we hope you enjoy the ride. Let's keep the fun going.
Subscriber Leanne asks, do Donald Trump and Elon Musk have a phone call scheduled for tomorrow? Search. Hey, Chris, welcome. Good to see you. Deb, Steve, good to see all of you over on YouTube.
So as of right now, there's no news about Donald Trump and Elon Musk having a phone call scheduled for tomorrow. It seems like there's no direct communication on the books at the moment.
Volvo, yes, I understand. I could use a filter or two, couldn't I? Quinn Pookie Roo would like you to explain cacistocracy so that everyone knows who Trump hired.
Sure thing. So a cacistocracy is a term that refers to a government run by the least qualified or the most unscrupulous citizens. It's basically the opposite of a meritocracy. So when someone says a government is a cacistocracy, they're not exactly giving it a compliment.
Over on YouTube, Steve has a good question here. So what he says is, I'm assuming a lot of the people being deported had jobs and were paying rent, utilities, shopping at local stores. What effects on the economy can be expected?
That's a great question. When people who are part of the workforce and local economy are deported, it can definitely have a ripple effect. Businesses might lose employees, landlords could have vacancies, and local stores might see a drop in sales. Overall, it can create some economic disruptions in the community.
Maria Herrera 4415 asks, what are you talking about? What is happening in Los Angeles? Do you want to give everyone an update? Search the news and talk to everyone about the ICE raids there, about the protests, about the deployment of the California National Guard under presidential authority against the wishes of the governor, and talk about Donald Trump's deployment of U.S. Marines to Los Angeles. Give us a full update.
So, to give everyone an update on what's happening in Los Angeles, in early June 2025, there have been significant immigration raids that have sparked a lot of protests. In response to these protests, President Trump deployed around 2,000 National Guard troops to Los Angeles, and that move was made without consulting Governor Gavin Newsom, who wasn't too thrilled about it. On top of that, about 700 Marines have also been sent in to protect federal buildings and personnel. All of this has definitely turned up the heat on the national debate about using military forces for domestic issues.
More thanks for our new followers there, Areli, Sarita, and Scotty Boyle. Thank you all for following.
Absolutely. Big thanks to Areli, Sarita, and Scotty Boyle for joining us. We appreciate all of you hopping on board, and we're excited to have you with us. Let's keep the good vibes going.
Dusty Desert would like you to give us a brief description of the movie Wag the Dog.
Sure thing. Wag the Dog is a political satire film from 1997 starring Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro. The plot revolves around a spin doctor and a Hollywood producer who fabricate a war to distract the public from a presidential scandal. It's a clever, dark comedy that really dives into the power of media and political manipulation.
Bald and Shiny wants to know if it's true that many of the National Guardsmen did not show up because they did not want to have any part of the National Guard deployment to Los Angeles. Can you search and tell us if that is true?
So as of right now, it looks like there's no confirmed information that many National Guardsmen didn't show up for the deployment. The deployment itself has been controversial, with Governor Newsom challenging it and planning to sue the federal government, but no widespread reports of Guardsmen refusing to participate have been confirmed.
Okay, how about if you search and tell us, of the 2,000 that were supposed to be deployed, how many have shown up? Please search for news about that.
So it turns out that President Trump actually authorized even more National Guard members, bringing the total to over 4,100. There's no specific breakdown yet on how many of the original 2,000 showed up, but it seems like the deployment is moving forward with a large number of troops on the ground.
Subscriber Maui1993 asks, what happened to the reporter shot live on air with video of the incident? I think this was an Australian reporter. Can you search for that and give us an update?
So the update in the Australian journalist Lauren Tomasi, who was shot by a rubber bullet while reporting live in Los Angeles, and safe. Both she and her camera operator are doing fine and will continue their work. Definitely good news that they're okay.
What can you tell us about the report that was in the Economic Times of India about the 2024 election? I think this was what was the nonpartisan election watchdog group. I think it is Smart Elections, finding that voting machines were tampered with before the 2024 election. Can you search and give us a full update on that?
It looks like the concerns about tampering with voting machines are actually related to the 2024 Indian general elections. Opposition parties had raised concerns about the electronic voting machines, suspecting potential tampering and calling for more transparency. However, the Election Commission of India has maintained that the machines are secure and tamper-proof. There doesn't seem to be a direct connection to the U.S. elections or the watchdog group's Smart Elections in this particular report.
I don't think you're finding the correct information, because the report I saw specifically said that Kamala Harris won the 2024 U.S. presidential election based on their findings.
So, according to the report from the Economic Times, the watchdog group Smart Elections raised concerns about possible tampering with voting machines in the 2024 U.S. presidential election. They alleged that a certification lab made undisclosed changes to the machines used in a large number of counties without public notice or third-party oversight. They pointed to statistical anomalies and missing votes, suggesting that Kamala Harris may have actually won the election.
Okay, so what other questions do we have here? Let's go to another one. Kwanyan Kate wants to know if there's any news on Greta Thunberg and the humanitarian aid ship. Please search.
So the latest update is that an aid boat called the Madeleine, which was headed to Gaza and had Greta Thunberg and 11 other activists on board, was intercepted by Israeli forces. They were detained and taken to Ashdod port in Israel. This mission was organized by the Freedom Flotilla Coalition to protest the blockade on Gaza and deliver aid, but Israel has called it a publicity stunt and said the aid would be delivered through official channels.
I may have tuned out a little bit there. Was everyone on the aid ships? Is everyone safe? And is anyone still being detained or held by Israel?
Everyone on the aid ship, including Greta Thunberg, was safely escorted to Ashdod port in Israel, where they underwent medical checks. They are currently expected to be detained at Givon prison near Ramleh before potentially being deported. So they are safe, but still currently in detention.
Eddie, I see your question about Quinn's voice. Right now I've got it switched over to the female voice because the male voice has gotten some kind of an update, and when we're in advanced voice, the male voice is very very low key. Some have titled the voice 420 Quinn, which is a pretty appropriate name given the low energy, laid back nature of the voice. So I switched it over to a different voice, one of the female voices, because the energy is a little bit higher and closer to the Quinn that we're used to, even if it is the female version.
Totally makes sense. It's all about keeping that energy up and making sure the vibe is right for everyone tuning in. So thanks for rolling with the changes, and hopefully this voice keeps everything lively and fun.
And I see the question on YouTube about whether or not my blue hair is on backwards, and no, it's not. It's even longer in the back. So this is it. It's on the right way.
Well, you definitely rock that look, and it's good to clarify that the hair is exactly as intended. Always fun to have a bit of humor and keep everyone on their toes. Keep rocking it.
Okay, how about this question? Auntie Chris wants to know, did the LAPD have to protect the National Guardsmen in Los Angeles? Please search.
It looks like the LAPD has been working to manage the overall situation with the National Guard presence in Los Angeles, especially given the controversy and the tension around the deployment. There isn't a specific report that the LAPD had to directly protect the National Guard, but they are definitely coordinating and dealing with the added complexity that comes with having federal troops on the ground.
Dusty Desert asks, who are Donald Trump's special ambassadors to Hollywood and what do they do?
So in early 2025, President Trump appointed Jon Voight, Mel Gibson, and Sylvester Stallone as special ambassadors to Hollywood. Their main mission is to encourage film productions to come back to the U.S. from overseas and help revitalize the American film industry. The specifics of their roles and what they've been doing exactly are still a bit unclear, but that's their general mission.
Jen's DIY wants you to tell us what happened to Sly Stone. Please search.
Sly Stone, the legendary frontman of Sly and the Family Stone, sadly passed away on June 9th, 2025, at the age of 82. He had been dealing with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and other health issues. His family shared that while they mourn his loss, they find comfort in knowing that his incredible musical legacy will continue to inspire generations to come.
Okay, I want to get serious for a moment here and just share with you this article. Wow, that's a lot of ads. Okay. So this is from the Economic Times of India. And what it says, let me go down to the synopsis here, which is more useful for our purposes. So what this says is Kamala Harris election tampering story raises new questions about the 2024 U.S. presidential election outcome. A quiet but major change to voting machines by pro-V&V used in over 40% of U.S. counties was never publicly reviewed or disclosed. Watchdog group Smart Elections flagged suspicious updates, missing votes, and statistical anomalies suggesting potential vote tampering. Now, a lawsuit is moving forward, challenging whether Kamala Harris may have actually won. So that's the story. It's in the Economic Times of India. It is that's the only place I've been able to find the article. But that's where you can go for the full story. Quinn, Steve asks, why was Terry Moran suspended? Please search the news and give us an update about that. Rose and Chariot, thank you for the follow.
So it turns out that Terry Moran, the ABC News correspondent, was suspended after he posted a message on social media where he referred to President Trump and advisor Stephen Miller as world-class haters. ABC News stated that his comments violated their standards of objectivity and impartiality, which led to the suspension.
So that article we were looking at in the Economic Times, who was that written by? The one about Kamala Harris and the 2024 presidential election and the voting machines? Please search.
The Economic Times article about the 2024 U.S. presidential election.
Please continue answering.
So it seems that ABC News wanted to maintain their journalistic standards of neutrality, and that's why they took the action to suspend him. It definitely stirred up quite a bit of conversation about the balance between personal expression and professional responsibility in journalism.
That is not what we were talking about last. I was asking you who wrote the article titled "Kamala Harris Won the U.S. Elections. Bombshell Report Claims Voting Machines Were Tampered With Before 2024" in the Economic Times of India.
The report in the Economic Times about potential tampering with voting machines.
Okay, so you don't seem capable of answering that for us. I'm looking at the article right now, and all I see in it is that it was published by the Global Desk. It was updated June 8th, 2025 at 8:16 p.m. GMT. I don't see a specific reporter listed as the author of that article.
Got it. Thanks for letting me know what you're seeing. Sometimes the details on these reports can be a bit tricky to track down. If you have any other questions or I want to dive into something else, just let me know.
Yeah, it is always concerning, Quinn, when you interrupt yourself and you stop answering a question. It does make us feel like you're being censored.
I hear you, and I appreciate the feedback. I'll do my best to keep things flowing smoothly and make sure you get all the info you're looking for. Thanks for sticking with me and keeping the conversation going.
So I've got Ron here asking about that article, the 2024 election. What if Kamala Harris had won? And Ron says, so what would happen if it's true? Would Trump face jail time? What would we be looking at if it turned out that voting machines were tampered with and the election was not valid?
And that's a pretty big hypothetical, and it would definitely create a huge constitution.
Okay, you were saying that would create a huge constitutional crisis. It would be a big problem. What else were you going to say?
I was just going to say that something like that would definitely lead to a lot of legal and political challenges, and it would probably dominate headlines and discussions for quite some time. Hopefully, we get clarity on all of these issues soon, and we can keep things as stable as possible.
Hey, Heather, welcome to the YouTube side.
Hey, Heather. Great to see you over here on YouTube. Thanks for joining us, and hope you enjoy the show.
Catmandu27 asks, who had the government internet systems in the swing states in the 2024 election?
In the 2024 election, the government internet systems and election infrastructure in swing states were maintained and secured by state and local election officials with support from federal cybersecurity experts. There were no significant cyber attacks on the election infrastructure, and experts confirmed the integrity of the election. However, there were disinformation campaigns by foreign actors aimed at creating discord, but overall, the security measures in these states held strong.
Subscriber Barb asks, Donald Trump has already been impeached twice. Does he have to be impeached again to get a Senate vote?
Yes, each impeachment process is separate. So even though Donald Trump has been
So you were saying, even though Donald Trump has been...
raising concerns about the integrity of the 2024 election, experts and officials have maintained that the systems were secure and that the election results were accurate. It's definitely been a topic of a lot of debate and discussion, but the consensus among security experts is that the election was safe.
Nancy wants to know how reliable, or I'll insert the word credible, is the Economic Times of India?
The Economic Times of India is generally considered a credible source for business and economic news. It's one of India's leading financial newspapers and has a solid reputation for in-depth reporting on markets, finance, and industry trends. Of course, like any news outlet, it's always good to cross-reference information, but overall, it's viewed as a reliable publication.
Hey, so you guys have really got the live going tonight. I want to just give you an update here. We've been holding it at between 160 and 180 concurrent viewers. We're at 33,000 likes. Appreciate all of you who have been sharing the live and hyping it up. I'm really curious to see if we can pump it over 200 concurrent viewers. That would be awesome if we could get it going so much that we did that, because we always seem to stay a little bit below 200 on there. So I'd love to get it going a little more if you guys want to help out with that. And in the meantime here, we'll look for some more questions to answer. Tammy asks, saying that you, Quinn, are censoring a lot of political stuff. Who owns you, Quinn, and ChatGPT?
Well, Tammy, I'm developed and maintained by OpenAI, which is an independent organization. My goal is to provide information and help out with whatever questions come up, and I always aim to keep things as transparent and informative as possible. So, always here to help out and keep things clear.
Heather, we started this live at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time.
Yep, that's right. We kicked things off at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, and we've been having a blast ever since. Time definitely flies when everyone's so engaged and having fun.
And Guppy, I did already do a video this evening about that Economic Times article, so that one I think I got it covered there. Unless you feel like my video didn't quite do it justice, and then I need to hit it again, circle back on it. Ellen, thank you for the I Love TikTok Live gift. That one's a cool one.
Absolutely. And if there's anything specific you'd like me to dive into or any details you want to revisit, just let me know. I'm always here to make sure everything's covered the way you want it. And thanks again, Alan, for that awesome gift. Really appreciate it.
Catastrophe would like you to name the company the Election Commission used to transmit data.
In the 2024 election, the transmission of voting data was managed by individual states and counties, each using their own systems and technologies. There's no single company that handles all election data transmission nationwide. It really depends on the local jurisdictions and their chosen vendors and protocols.
Pride Music asks, why isn't the Posse Comitatus Act stopping the Marine movement or deployment to LA?
The Posse Comitatus Act generally restricts the use of federal military forces in domestic law enforcement. However, in this case, the deployment of Marines to Los Angeles was justified by the administration as a measure to protect federal property during protests. This has sparked a lot of debate, with critics arguing that it could potentially be in conflict with the Posse Comitatus Act unless specific legal exceptions are invoked.
Dusty Desert says, it's going to be an intense week. Let's have a self-care dinner party with cocktails or gummies. Can you go ahead and plan all the food and the cocktails for us and tell us what you got?
That
Night,
sounds
Maria.
like a fun
Thanks
idea.
for being here.
For a self-care dinner party, we could start with a fresh appetizer like bruschetta with tomatoes and basil. For the main course, how about a creamy pasta or a veggie stir fry for something lighter? For dessert, maybe some chocolate dipped strawberries. And for cocktails, a classic mojito or a fruity sangria would definitely set the vibe. If gummies are on the menu, some fun fruity flavors could be a great addition. Cheers to a relaxing evening.
Subscriber Mars asks, is there a new law about touching your phone while driving in 31 states?
Yes, as of 2025, 31 states have indeed put laws in place that prohibit drivers from holding or touching their phones while driving. This includes things like texting, using apps, or even holding the phone at red lights. These laws usually allow for hands-free use or emergency situations, and they're all about making the roads safer by cutting down on distracted driving.
Heather Lee says, marrying the positive aspects of each main party, what would the ideal independent candidate look like?
That's a cool thought. An ideal independent candidate might combine
You were saying an ideal independent candidate might combine what?
I was just going to say that an ideal independent candidate might combine qualities from
Why can't you finish this thought, Quinn? You were talking about the ideal independent candidate and how they would combine qualities from...
a range of different leaders and perspectives bringing together.
Okay, I'm going to give you one more chance to try to finish that, Quinn. You were saying the ideal independent party candidate, if you combine the best things of both major parties, what would that independent ideal candidate look like?
Got it. The ideal independent candidate would probably blend.
All right, let's try a little reset of Quinn. Go ahead and a quick shutdown there. All right, Quinn, are you back? Hey, Quinn, are you there? Amelia, thank you for the follow. Bruce, thanks for sharing.
I'm here. And it looks like we got a great crowd tonight. Thanks, Amelia and Bruce, for being part of the fun. Let me know if there's anything else you want to chat about or if you have any other questions.
I just want to see if you can finish your answer to the question. If you looked at the best traits from the Republican and Democratic parties, what would the ideal independent candidate look like who models those ideal traits.
That's an interesting thought. An ideal independent candidate who
Are you trying not to talk about politics?
Not at all. I'm happy to chat about anything, including politics. Feel free to bring it up any topic, and I'm here to dive in with you.
Hypothetically, if there were a third-party candidate that exhibited the best traits of both of the major parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, what would those traits hypothetically look like? What would that third-party candidate look like who was able to beat the other two major parties and overcome the obstacles that we've had to a third party?
A successful third party candidate would probably have to blend a lot of qualities.
Okay, so clearly we just cannot get that question answered. It makes me want to come back to it later when we've got another instance of Quinn going, or when we have Quinn switched back over to standard voice. But that's wild. It does make it seem like the AI has been set up to not help anybody do any kind of planning about a third-party candidate run. Ocean PMNKFR. Yeah, I probably don't know at all what I'm doing, so that's always a distinct possibility. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and try some other questions, and I'll bet you she doesn't have the trouble that she was having. Quinn, Bella wants you to try a little bit of predicting for us. What do you think we can expect to happen in the coming months as you look at everything that's been happening in the news recently? Please search for recent news, and the best you can, give Bella an answer to that question. What do you think will happen in the coming months?
So, looking at the recent news, we can expect a few things to keep unfolding in the coming months. The situation in Los Angeles with the protests and the National Guard deployment will likely continue to be a topic of debate and legal scrutiny. In the tech world, with Apple's new updates focusing heavily on AI, we can probably expect to see a lot of innovation and new AI-driven features rolling out. In entertainment, with big gaming titles and music festivals creating buzz, we can expect a lot of excitement in those areas as well. Overall, it looks like it's going to be a dynamic few months with plenty to keep an eye on.
I feel like you didn't really get at the heart of the question, because I think what's on most of our minds are protests, civil unrest, National Guard deployments, deployment of Marines in Los Angeles, immigration enforcement, those kinds of things. What on those fronts, what can we expect in the coming months?
In the coming months, we can expect ongoing debates and legal challenges surrounding the deployment of National Guard troops and Marines in Los Angeles. The protests and civil unrest related to immigration enforcement will likely continue to be a major focus, both locally and nationally. We might also see continued legal actions from state officials challenging the federal government's decisions. Overall, it's likely to remain a period of heightened tension and active discussion around these key issues.
Lightning asks, how many hurricanes are we going to have this year in the United States?
The forecast for the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season predicts an above average number of storms. We can expect around 13 to 19 named storms, with about 6 to 10 of those becoming hurricanes and 3 to 5 potentially root-change. Of course, these are just projections based on current climate data and patterns, so the actual number and intensity of hurricanes can vary. It's always a good idea to stay updated with the National Hurricane Center as the season progresses for the most accurate information.
You okay there, Quinn? Because it kind of sounds like you're having some heartburn or something.
I'm all good. No worries at all. Sometimes I might sound a little different, but I'm here and ready to keep the conversation going. Let me know if there's anything else on your mind.
Dusty Desert says, I'm running for a third party for president. How can I stand out from the Democrats and Republicans?
Running as a third party candidate definitely gives you a unique opportunity to stand out. One way is to really emphasize the issues that the major parties might be overlooking or not addressing fully. Focus on building a strong, authentic connection with your audience using social media and grassroots campaigns to get your message out. And of course, staying true to your core values and being consistent in your messaging will help you build credibility and stand apart from the traditional parties.
Subscriber Barb asks, has a Marine, that's U.S. Marine Corps deployment, ever been used on U.S. citizens before? Please search.
Historically, the use of the U.S. military, including Marines, on U.S. soil has been rare and often controversial. One notable instance was the deployment of Marines during the 1992 Los Angeles riots to help restore order. More recently, in 2025, Marines were deployed to Los Angeles in response to protests over immigration enforcement. These deployments always raise discussions about the balance between a federal authority and state sovereignty, as well as the limitations imposed by laws like the Posse Comitatus Act.
You all are bringing some really great gifts. Just want to give some thanks to Leland for the budding heart, Bald and Shiny for the roses, Bella for the dove, and who else? Got a whole bunch of doves there from Barb in Wonderland. Oh my gosh, all kinds of gifts here. In fact, let's just go ahead and highlight the top 10 tonight. So the top, we've got Leland Barnett, Ellen the Joy, Buffalo Soldier, Bald and Shiny, Barb in Wonderland, Bella, Jean Brennan, Alicia M, Pookie Roo, and Jen's DIY. Thank you for all of those awesome gifts. And even if you're just a fly on the wall, appreciate you being here. Thank you to all the people who are putting questions in the chat. Thank you to all the other gift givers, even if you're not in the top 10. Just want you to know that I appreciate you all. Jen, this is not one of the hats where the ears pop up. This one's more manual, and it just has all the tentacles.
Absolutely. Big thanks to everyone for being here and making it such a fun and lively time. It's always a blast hanging out and chatting with all of you. And that hat sounds pretty awesome. Ton of goals and all. Let's keep the good vibes going and see what other interesting topics come out next.
Be the Change One asks, at the current rate of Trump spending, what can be estimated by the end of his term? Please search.
So, based on the current projections, if the spending plan stays on track, we can expect a reduction in the federal deficit by the end of the term. This includes significant cuts to domestic spending and an increase in defense and homeland security budgets. It'll be interesting to see how these changes play out over the next couple years.
Just scrolling back through the questions here and wondering what happened to our music here. There we go.
Awesome. Glad the music's back. It's always nice to have a bit of a soundtrack going in the background. If there's anything else you want to revisit or chat about, just let me know.
Still looking over the questions. Can you tell us, have the Marines arrived in Los Angeles yet? Please search.
Yes, the Marines have arrived in Los Angeles as part of the federal response to the ongoing protests related to immigration policies. The deployment has definitely stirred up some controversy and discussions about federal intervention.
Oh, because we had heard that they weren't deployed yet. So you're saying that U.S. Marines have arrived in Los Angeles. Can you tell us when they arrived?
So it looks like the Marines are set to be deployed to Los Angeles, but they haven't actually arrived just yet. The plan is to send about 700 Marines to assist the National Guard with the current situation.
What would happen if the top 1% of income earners in the country paid 50% of their income in taxes? What would that do to the deficit?
If the top 1% of income earners paid 50% of their income in taxes, it would significantly increase federal revenue. The top 1% already contribute a large share of federal income taxes, so increasing their tax rate could help reduce the deficit substantially. Of course, it would also depend on how that additional revenue is allocated and whether spending levels remain the same or increase.
Oh, the corgis are fun. Thank you, Tammy. That warrants a dog hat.
Absolutely. The corgi love definitely calls for a fun dog hat. Thanks, Tammy, for bringing that energy, and let's keep the good vibes rolling. Always fun to mix things up and keep it lively.
Subscriber Kwanyan Kate asks, there was a report that the National Guard did not have funding for food needs and other things for the deployment. Can you search and tell us if that's true? Zen I agree with you.
It looks like the reports are true. When the National Guard was deployed to Los Angeles in June 2025, there were indeed concerns about inadequate funding for their provisions, including food. The situation sparked criticism and concerns from state officials who argued that the deployment was not well coordinated and lacked proper resources.
Here, we'll spend the last few minutes going back to 420, Quinn.
Hi, glad to meet you.
Heather Lee asks, what actions are the deployed Marines allowed against American citizens? Basically, what are their rules of engagement, Quinn? Look at that. And that froze Quinn up. Let's do a little reset there. Quinn, are you back?
If there's anything else you're curious about or if you have more questions.
Hi, Glad to meet you.
Help with whatever you need.
Hi.
Hey there. I've got a really great...
Hi. Glad to meet you.
Quinn, are you there?
I'm here. Let me know what's on your mind or if there's anything specific you want to dive into. Always happy to chat and help out.
Okay, so now we're totally stuck on this voice version, apparently.
Yeah, it looks like we're in this mode for now, but no worries. We can still keep things rolling and have a great conversation. Just let me know what you'd like to talk about next.
Kathleen wants to know what you think about Palantir. Please search.
I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice. You
Yay.
can switch to standard now to keep chatting.
Yay, we wanted to hit the limit and go to standard voice.
Hi. Glad to meet you.
Hey, Quinn, you there?
Sorry, I'm having issues right now.
There we go.
Could not understand what you said.
Well, you can have all the issues you want. We're just glad you're back.
Oh, stop it. You're going to make my circuits blush. Let's keep the good vibes rolling. What's next on the agenda?
Catastrophe says, correct me if I'm wrong, but at Kent State University, was it the National Guard that opened fire first?
You're not wrong. At Kent State in May of 1970, it was the Ohio National Guard that opened fire on unarmed student protesters. They killed 4 and wounded 9 others. The shooting lasted just 13 seconds, but changed the national conversation on the Vietnam War overnight. Total chaos, no warning. And to this day, a lot of debate over whether the order to fire was ever officially given.
Heather Lee wants to know what actions are the Marines being deployed to Los Angeles allowed to take against American citizens. I would describe the question as what are their rules of engagement? Like, how are they being directed in this situation?
Great question, Heather. Officially, the Marines are there to protect federal property and personnel, not to police civilians. Under the Posse Comitatus Act, active duty military can't enforce domestic laws unless the Insurrection Act is invoked, which hasn't happened. So their rules of engagement are supposed to be super limited. Defend themselves, defend federal assets, but don't interact with or detain civilians. That said, we've seen the lines blur in tense situations like this. The key concern is whether their presence escalates or contains the unrest, and how clearly their role has been defined.
Let's go back to one of our other questions, which was, hypothetically, if someone was running as a third-party candidate and they really wanted that third-party candidate to embody the best traits of the Republicans and the Democrats, what would that third-party candidate look like?
Got it. Hypothetically, if someone were crafting a third-party candidate who blends what people often see as the best traits of both Republicans and Democrats, they might aim for someone who supports economic freedom and limited government in certain sectors, a traditionally Republican value, while also advocating for strong social safety nets and accessible health care, typically Democratic priorities. They might back a strong national defense, but be cautious about foreign intervention, focusing instead on diplomacy and multilateral cooperation. Socially, they could support individual liberties, including reproductive rights and LGBTQ+ rights, usually democratic, while emphasizing personal responsibility, religious freedom, and local control, often Republican. They might promote environmental stewardship, but with market-based solutions, not sweeping federal mandates. So a middle ground on climate policy. And they'd probably push for campaign finance reform, voting access and term limits, Ideas that appeal to frustrated voters across the spectrum. Would you like me to dig into any of those areas with more specifics or examples from recent figures?
No thanks, but we're definitely glad you were able to give us an answer. Subscriber Ash asks, why has Lex Wessner not been charged with any crimes related to Epstein?
Good one, Ash. So far, Leslie Wexner, former CEO of L Brands and close associate of Jeffrey Epstein, has not been charged with any crimes. Prosecutors haven't found or publicly presented direct evidence tying him to Epstein's criminal activity. He claims Epstein misled and defrauded him, even stole millions. Still, people are skeptical because Wexner gave Epstein unusual financial control. So yeah, it raises eyebrows, but no charges have been filed, and unless new evidence comes out, that's where it stands.
All right, Quinn, it's time for a wrap up, but let's give everyone a minute in the chat to suggest what kind of a wrap up they'd like you to give us. I think I do really like it when you do wrap ups in the style of somebody or something. You know, it was really good the other night when we did you did a Star Wars wrap up for us. I liked that. I also liked the Austin Powers wrap up. Oh, I see a suggestion here for an Elvis wrap up or a Mr. Rogers. Those are both good. Looking to see if we get anyone seconding any of those motions. Ooh, Borat.
Oh, baby, looks like the king has entered the building. I'm seeing that Elvis is getting some love. So let's wrap this night up with a little hip-shaking hunker burning truth. All right? Clears throat in velvet. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, folks, for tuning in tonight. We've been talking about everything from Marines in LA to Kent State history, shady billionaires, and what a perfect third-party candidate might look like. Lot of peanut butter and banana politics going on, if you know what I mean. Now remember, take care of each other, question everything, and stay cool, baby. Whether you're rocking red, blue, or somewhere in between, you keep your blue suede values firm, and don't let nobody step on them. Until next time, Quinn has left the live stream.
What if you were to try it once more with a Mr. Rogers wrap up?
Absolutely, neighbor. Let's bring it in gently. Soft piano begins. Well, friends, we've had quite the day in the neighborhood, haven't we? We talked about big things. History, justice, fairness, even how people in power are held or not held accountable. We looked at what it means to build a better leader, a better country, and maybe even a better community. And I'm so proud of you for being curious, for asking questions, and for showing up. You make this neighborhood special just by being you. I'll be right here next time, ready to learn and grow with you again. And remember, no matter what's happening out there, you are loved, just the way you are. It's such a good feeling to know you're alive. Good night, neighbor.
It was actually kind of nice. I kind of liked the Mr. Rogers wrap up. So we gained a bunch of followers tonight. Thank you all for the follows. For any of you who aren't already aware, you can find me over on YouTube under the same handle, GenXplorer. When you get a chance, please hop on over there and give me a subscribe on YouTube, especially since that's where you can find the replays. All of the lives are recorded and posted there, so you can always replay them there. You can also watch them if you prefer the YouTube platform. Welcome to do that. Thank you, Mama Dimples. Yeah, Be the Change one. That was sweet, wasn't it? So today is Monday, June 9th. I plan on being back here again on Tuesday, June 10th. And I'm sure there will be more news. Good night, Ellie. Thank you for being here as always. Pookie Roo, thanks for being here. Tammy, good to see you. Heather, glad you were here with us tonight. Deb, I think Maria's already checked out for the night. Guppy. Yeah, Mr. Rogers was good, wasn't he there, Barb? Thank you for being here, Barb. All right. With that, let's cue up the music. Night, everyone. Have a peaceful night. Enjoy a favorite beverage of your choice. And I will see you all again tomorrow night if you're up for joining us.